Hello, everybody. It's me, Sports Talk Guy. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you all have a special lover out there. And now, let's just get right into it and talk about our topic. As you can see by the title, Kirk Cousins, Redskins backup quarterback, and Michael Vick, Eagles backup quarterback. What do they have in common going into this offseason? Their value. Both these guys. Well, let's start with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is still under contract by the Washington Redskins, but they mutually agreed to being open to having Kirk Cousins, and he himself has said he's open to being traded after RG3 was named the starter for Artie for the 2014 season. So what does that do for teams that need a quarterback? Well, personally, I love Kirk Cousins. He reminds me of a Tom Brady, Nick Foles type quarterback, pocket passer, gets the job done, that tall, lanky, prototypical quarterback. And that's what I like to see with guys in the NFL. He could help out a lot of teams, and I think realistically it was a smart pick for the Redskins. I mean, thinking back at it 2 years ago, or will soon be 2 years ago when they drafted him, they said basically they were drafting him to either say, hey, either RG3 is going to bust and this is our guy, or RG3 is going to do good and then we have trade value. And there you go. You have trade value now. Now, granted, the Redskins still don't have a first-round draft pick for spending 3 on RG3, which proving so far that it really wasn't worth it. But we'll see. I think RG3 is going to end up a bust. But that's just me. Anyways, and on to Michael Vick. What value does Vick have? Well, Vick is currently a free agent. The Eagles are choosing not to re-sign him, and Vick wants to test the free agency waters himself to become the starting quarterback somewhere. If he wouldn't have, in the event that he wouldn't get signed, he has said that he'd be open to definitely coming back as the Eagles' backup. But I think he'll get signed, and here's why. Vick last season lost a starting job to Nick Foles, as everyone knows. He didn't lose it because he played bad. He lost it because he got hurt, and that's where it comes from. How many games will you get out of Vick if he is your starting quarterback? But even beyond all that, the 4 starts he had last year, he did really good. He kept the turnover down. He worked that offense well, and this type of really fast offense that Chip Kelly liked to run, it turned out Nick Foles can just somehow run it better, which I'm alright with. But Vick brings a lot to the table. I mean, if he can learn, I mean, he's old. He can't teach something, so they say. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Ironic, dogs. Anyways, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. If he could stay, I mean, being a running quarterback is great. Russell Wilson just won the Super Bowl, and he's, in my opinion, the first true running quarterback to win the Super Bowl. That's saying something. And this year, what I noticed in watching some of the Seahawks games that he did, Russell Wilson chose to pass first, run second. Vick and guys like Vick, Colin Kaepernick, and even Russell Wilson last season, and RG3, they will run immediately if they don't see anything that they like at all. And sometimes a little patience helps, and sometimes taking maybe a sack or two in the pocket just helps. Now, I mean, Vick has a flat-out cannon. I went to the Eagles' home opener last year against the Chargers, their second game of the season, and man, Deshaun Jackson in that game ran 4 streaks, thrown to 4 times. He caught 3 of them, and only 2 of them counted. One was for a touchdown, one was about a 40-yard gain. One was a touchdown, but there was a holding penalty, and the other one was overthrown. And man, Vick threw those for bombs. Like, he chucked those up. And Vick has a cannon, and Vick can run. Again, it's if Vick can stay healthy. Vick is a good quarterback when he's healthy. He's proven it. I mean, 2012, that was arguably the worst year of his career. The start of 2013 was very well. 2011 and 2010 were also very well. And even before that, when he was with the Falcons, he did very well. He's not a bad quarterback. It's just how many games will you get him for? And you need to be a team that has a solid backup to come in and fill a few games if he's going to miss some time. Because more often than not, Vick's going to get hurt, whether it's his ribs, his concussions, or his legs. So now why are we talking about them, though? Why do I like them, and what do I think they'll do? Personally, there's 2 teams in the NFL right now that I think are a quarterback away from running their divisions. Those 2 teams would be the Cleveland Browns and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings this year, I think, should go after Kirk Cousins so they don't have to worry about drafting a quarterback. Because where their pick is set up, those top guys might not be there, like Johnny Manziel or Teddy Bridgewater, Blake Bortles. Those guys will be gone most likely by the time they get there. And I think they need to make. I think the Vikings should be the front runner to make this trade for Kirk Cousins. I think the ideal trade for the Vikings to make to get Kirk Cousins. I think they should give up this year's second rounder, next year's third rounder, and maybe a decent player somewhere in there. Maybe a Chad Greenway. So that's what I think would be ideal to get you Kirk Cousins, and I think Kirk Cousins would run that offense really well. Even if Kirk Cousins doesn't end up being what I think he could be, he's smart enough, and he's definitely smart enough, and he's a good enough quarterback to just be patient and control the game. With a running back like Adrian Peterson, all the Vikings need is a quarterback that just controls the game. He keeps the turnover numbers down. That offense just keeps going because you're going to rely on Adrian Peterson. Look, you have Greg Jennings and Cordero Patterson as your receivers. Those two, I think, if they would have a quarterback, would make a great 1-2 punch in the NFL. Patterson and Jennings has proven in his career, not so much this year, and Patterson this year really showed a lot of people what he can do, and I was very impressed with him. He's a very good return man, and I think he'll be a great receiver once he comes into his prime, and if he gets a very good quarterback. So I think getting a quarterback like Kirk Cousins just changes it all up there. Now let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns already have a defense. They've been top 10 in defense the past 2 years. That's saying something. Now, while on the defensive side of the ball, they need to make some signings. They need to really resign T.J. Ward. Granted, I'd love to see T.J. Ward be on that team come the end of the offseason, but I think if the Browns want to do anything positive this year, they got to get T.J. Ward back, and I think they need to get either Michael Vick or they draft Johnny Manziel. I think realistically, the Browns are a quarterback and a decent running back away from becoming a top team in the NFL. And really, it comes down to, I think they definitely should go with Vick this year because first off, I don't think Manziel will be even though they're the fourth pick. I think 2 quarterbacks will go in the top 3, and I think that'll be Bridgewater and Manziel. But if the Browns were to get Manziel, that's a decent option. But Vick is the safer option now. Hear me out. Vick for 1 year at least, and you maybe try to resign Brandon Weeden if you need him, because God knows Brandon Weeden doesn't do anything. You get Vick for a year, and then if you don't have a good year again, next year you go into the draft and you draft Mariota. That's what I think they should do, and that's what I like to see him do. Now, do I have a problem though with saying no to this and hoping that Manziel falls to them or they trade up those few picks? That's fine. And what I think would be great for them though is getting with Vick. Then they have a quarterback. Now you have that 4th round pick. Now you can make trades with it, or you can stay there and get somebody. What I think they should do is get Vick, trade down, get something a little extra out of it, and then you draft a running back like Trey Mason, and that would help them tremendously. But that'll end it for this video. That's what I want to talk about. This subject really interests me. I wanted to talk about these 2 guys and these 2 teams, and I think what they could do for both of them. So, I hope you all have a happy Valentine's Day, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.